Hello everyone, this is Tim, and today I'm going to do this little video outside. It's going to be a summary of the next session of the A Song of Ice and Fire campaign. So the knight Silence was knocking at Marcus's door, and he had their brother Edgum by the throat. Silence doesn't speak, he had the tongue removed from his mouth, but he asked for a pen and parchment to write down what he was going to say. The only problem is that Marcus, Eunice's character, can't read, so he depends on other people to do that for him. Edgum didn't want Marcus to find out what was on it, but Silence seemed pretty adamant that Marcus read it. So Marcus had to go and find someone else to read it for him. Marcus talked to Amma. She was the steward and master of the coin. The money that they had used to basically go to Wood Tower and do that whole exchange for the heir and all that was back, so their funds are all taken care of. None of them were lost. They started talking about the funeral arrangements for the Lord Father of the house that just died, and also for his wedding, Marcus's wedding to Alessa Wood Tower. Edgum grabbed the behind of the woman guest, Lillian, and that's what was upsetting Silence. And basically Silence would have killed Edgum if he didn't respect Marcus in the house so much. So, Marcus said that he was going to talk to Edgum about it. Brander was in his father's room, got dressed, and he had this vision of a boat. He was moving towards a bigger ship. There was a giant statue of a man with wide legs spread apart. The idea of Bravos came to mind. And when Brander looked in the water, there was a different person in the reflection there, and this person had red hair. So this is, starting to put the blocks together for Brander, that he isn't who he thinks he is. He's somebody else. Maybe he's a face dancer. That's what he's thinking. The ship they were traveling on was a Westerosi vessel, and it was headed towards one of the northern houses, but he couldn't figure out which one. Brander went to go find the serving girl that Edgum had slept with and used that information to sort of frame Marcus, just have evidence of that bloody sheet before. He had a flashback. This is Alina. Had a flashback of when she was 6 years old. There were no guards with her, and two larger boys were there that were threatening her, saying that they were going to push her down, do things to her. She said that her older brothers were going to hurt them if they kept doing what they were going to do. If they didn't leave her alone. And that's when her older brother Ibert came into the picture. Now, Ibert is a character that had died before the campaign started. But with a heavy branch, he basically killed these boys, and Belfier, who is one of the Ironclaws, was there as well. And he has a thing for Alina, and I guess it's kind of started around this time. So the boys were dead, and they weren't going to take advantage of her anymore. Alina followed the tracks that she was following, and she found a dying shadow cat. And she picked one of the kittens, I guess you'd call them, and they left the rest to die. But her older brothers didn't want her to take it. They wanted her to just let nature take its course, and she wasn't about to let that happen. So that's how she got her shadow cat in the picture. She kind of came back to herself, and it was her and her brother Almer that were bringing the body of Sim back to House Roderick. Hopefully the camera's alright here. It looks like it's kind of shiny. Yeah. Sorry about that. Her brother Almer wanted more of a say in the house affairs. He didn't want to be shipped off or kept to himself. He wanted to have some say in how the things went with the family. He wanted to lead the infantry. That's something that he wanted to do. He also said that most houses probably know what happened to Wood Tower, know how House Roderick, did things, what they did, the way they went about doing things. So, he just wanted to make sure that Marcus knew that. Let's see here. Marcus and Brander went to that serving woman, but they were going separately. Marcus was more interested in talking to Lillian Rivers, who was there. She's the guest. the one that was being harassed by Edgum, their brother. And he basically told Lillian that he would talk to his brother Edgum and tell him to stop his advances, to watch what he's doing, with his treatment of the serving girls. The serving girl that Brander was going to talk to had curly dark hair, and her name was Samantha. Um, he basically learned that Edgum was making the serving girls sleep with him, or else he'd ship them off to some other cold northern house further away, and basically make it a lot harder for them if they didn't do what he wanted them to do. So most of them gave in, and Samantha especially was one that didn't want that to continue, and I think that sunk deeply into Brander, and he wanted to do something about it. And he was starting to think about, what am I going to do about this situation? That's pretty much all he had come up with. Outside of Bear Hold, Claudio, the Iron Claw, had gathered all of the other Iron Claws together, and this is also when Alina and Almer came back from the Wood Tower lands and were coming to Bear Hold. And Claudio shook Alina's hand first. He didn't seem to respect Almer enough to even want to try to shake his hand, even though he was the older brother and that's what tradition would dictate. So it was kind of a slight to him when, he held his hand out there for Alina. But Alina appreciated it. Almer and Brander had some words about Father's death. And in this scene, I was role-playing Brander to be more confident, more brash, even maybe a little bit more violent, uncaring even. And Alina noticed this. Brander wasn't the calm, conservative, quiet, stuttering person that he was before. He seemed different. He seemed to have a different demeanor about him. She dismantled the situation with a few kind words here and there. And then she headed off, but she looked back like, what's going on with this guy? What's going on with my brother? Let's see here. Marcus met Almer and basically walked down slowly towards him and said, you are still my brother, and he embraced him. But he said that if he ever did anything like that again, plotting against him, that he would cut him down where he stood. Almer also talked about how most of the Wood Tower men had fled the city and the settlement there, and they're sort of like set up as like bandits or outlaws now in the surrounding area. And he said that farming is in a very bad state of affairs with, all these men abandoning their work. Not much food is being produced. The fact that the Iron Claws had raped a lot of the women that were in their care definitely has the men against the Roderick household. Doesn't sound like that situation is going to be resolved easily. Claudio mentioned to Brander that even though he had gone through this training, he needs to earn his claws. And the way that you go about doing that is to pick a fight in a bar. And the more people you mess up in the bar, the more respect you get. So Brander kind of took this and turned it up to 11. He went as far as he could with it. He walked in, this one guy was staring at him funny, so he basically jumped on the table and knocked him down. In the brawl, he plucked out one of his eyes. The guy was screaming, blood was running down his face. He was kicking the knees out of other people. He smashed one guy into a table and against the wall. I think it was 3 or 4 guys that he had ended up fighting with at the end there. And Claudio seemed to have a lot of respect for him, because Claudio was still messed up from that time that they fought in the bear pit there at the beginning of the training. So Brander is starting to get a lot more respect with the Iron Claws. He's known for being a cutthroat and dirty and just violent and cruel when he fights. And I think with them, that's going to earn more respect. Maybe to the point that they might even respect Brander more than Marcus. That'll be interesting to see if that actually happens, because they do respect Marcus a lot. Even though they sided with Almer when that whole situation went down before. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And, if Brander's still around, because, I set up this character to do a lot of risky, dangerous things that eventually the axe is going to come down and take me out. So we'll see how that works. At the end of the fight, Brander gave the victim silver to sort of pay for the injuries and damage that he had done. Tarley, who's a houseman, is going to be headed off with Tassil the Maester to take care of the Wood Tower lands and to fix things that have gone wrong. Basically, try to fix all the damage that has been done so far and try to smooth the waters for the transition to Roderick rule. They took a lot of men with them, and with the upcoming marriage of Marcus and Alessa Wood Tower, he just wants things to go as smoothly as possible. It sounds like it's probably not going to be smooth, but he's trying to make it better. Belthier told Alina that he wanted to be with her. She completely denied his advances, turned him down, said it just can't be, and he just didn't seem like he was getting that through his head. Then Edgum talked to Alina about Brander's change, what has been going on, about Lillian Rivers and how he messed up. And he also was, talking about silence and how he thinks that perhaps silence is going to hurt him. And she said just to watch himself and, act according to his stature. Maester Tassil, since he was going to be leaving, wanted Marcus to know about Brander's dreams and sleepwalking and episodes that he has. So Marcus is starting to understand that, Brander is pretty fucked up. He's got some issues. But he did say that the Ironclaw training seems to be helping Brander. He seems to be more focused and, coming more into his own. Marcus also suggested that they should kill Sir Blackstone, because Sir Blackstone is very loyal to their lord, but not necessarily to them. And now that that lord is dead, Lord Edgar, they got to do something about him. So we'll see how that situation works out. Belthier, the Ironclaw, was grumpy about being snubbed by Alina. He's been in love with her for a long time. He was getting drunk at the Ironclaw ceremony with Brander, but then he was summoned by Marcus. Marcus told him to pick a fight with this Sir Blackstone, and then if the fight got nasty and this knight died, so be it. That's what he wanted to have happen. Alina had a lot of problems with Marcus lately, and it's starting to come to a head. She told him that the Ironclaws don't respect other members of the Roderick household because they're not Ironclaws. Basically, anyone who isn't an Ironclaw, they don't respect at all. And he wants her to do something, or she wants him to do something about that. But he really didn't seem like he cared all that much. He's like, he really didn't blame them for not wanting to follow a woman. So that pissed Alina off. She also mentioned about Belthier and how his advances had disturbed her. She wanted him to talk about the situation with him and make things right. And Alina also brought up marriage, but she wanted to marry upward. She didn't want to marry some lower minor house just for a minor alliance. She wanted a powerful alliance. She wanted a strong household to marry into. And eventually she talked to their brother Nathan about it, who had a list of suggestions for houses that she should marry into. Sorry. Let's see here. Brander was in his room all of a sudden, and he must have had another blackout, another fugue state, because he really couldn't remember where he was before that. He had some sand in his shoes. He was dumping it out. He eventually started hearing cries in the hallway of something going on. And this is more Brander's, like, he's still messed up, but he's doing better. But yeah, another blackout state where he didn't know what happened. Marcus had found Edgum dead in the same place as the dead fisherman on the shore. They gathered up his body, and his neck was twisted all the way around. Alina, at this time, was sharing her bed with Marianne, her youngest sister, the one that will probably be getting married off by Marcus to, form alliances with other houses. Marcus snuck in and woke her. He told her that he only needed to talk to her, and that Almer was going to be needed to talk as well about the Edgum situation, this murder that has just happened in their house. They're starting to wonder what it is, who did it, but like the last campaign, a lot of the players kind of know that it's probably Brander that did it, even though it didn't happen in the campaign, it's just something that has happened before. So it's kind of one of those things where everyone kind of laughed. Their characters have no idea who it is, but the players do. At least they think they do. So it'll be funny to find out what happens there. Um, let's see here. The guards had messed up the crime scene around Edgum's body, so a lot of the evidence that was there isn't there any longer, or it's been tampered with, or it's in the wrong place. So they really don't have a lot of leads. There was a piece of parchment, however, that said um, basically inviting Edgum to, a tryst on the shore, and it was signed Samantha, and Samantha is that woman that Brander talked to, the cleaning woman. So everyone has a sort of lead there to go talk to this person. So that's pretty much it. I will talk to you guys later. Oh, and one final note, I'm going to be missing the next few sessions of this campaign. So hopefully Rohir does some recap videos. If not, I'll try to catch up on things the next time I record a video. I have to do some things for my GASP convention, and I have some family things that are coming up, so I just won't be able to play for a while. So I'll talk to you guys later.